Hi guys, I'm outside today doing my video and I wanted to speak with you about medical marijuana and how it literally saved my entire life. I was out gardening a few minutes ago and it's my favorite time of day. It's twilight time, the sun is starting to come down and it's getting a little bit cooler outside. And as I was gardening, I was thinking about the things that I was growing this year, and quite a few of them are medicinal. And I started to think about marijuana, about weed. And I wanted to take a few minutes to make a video for you to talk to you about how it changed my whole life. Our other videos in the past have been about spiritual traumas, emotional traumas, but we haven't talked about physical yet. And this is an example of turning healing into helping and hopefully being able to help other people with my story. So when my kids were a few years old, I was having a lot of female reproductive problems. And we basically tried everything, and I wound up having to go in and have a hysterectomy. So after my hysterectomy, I was healing, and a couple months into the healing, I started to feel tremendous pain in my pelvis. If you know where a C-section scar is, that was basically in the same area. And so what we wound up discovering after, I can't even tell you how many months of tests and x-rays and CAT scans and MRIs and everything that you can think of, it was basically determined that as I was healing, a nerve got entrapped into my incision. So what I was feeling was an entrapped nerve, and the pain went all the way down my leg. Ultimately, it wound up going all the way up my body as well. And this pain is something that I dealt with for probably about 6 or 7 years. And this was a pain that I felt every moment of every day. So I had been on a cocktail of medication. I was on pain pills. I was on nerve blockers. I was on some medicine that was supposed to be for something else, but they thought that it might help with nerve pain. I gained weight, I lost weight, and every once in a while we would find a cocktail that worked a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I have a very high threshold of pain, but I mean a little bit. But at least it was something. So every once in a while we would find a cocktail like that, and then it would last maybe 3 or 4 months, and then we were back to the drawing board. In my first video, I talked about how my husband passed away about 11 years ago. When he passed away, I was actually on a cocktail of this medication. And obviously, when something like that happens, you go into a fight or flight mode. It just is inevitable. And as I quickly thought about my health, I was on, like I said, a cocktail of medication, and there was no way that I was going to be able to be the mother that they needed and the person that I needed myself to be by being on all of these meds. So I went to my doctor, and obviously he knew that my husband passed away. But I went to him probably about a month afterwards, and I said to him, you know, I have 2 13-year-old kids. I'm going to have to rebuild my entire life. I don't really know what's ahead right now. I have to get off of all of this medication. And so he agreed with me, and we put together a plan to ease me off of the medication. And then he looked at me and he said, "Do you smoke weed?" And I said, maybe 2 or 3 times a year with some friends, but I don't smoke it regularly. And he said to me, "Do your research and start taking some weed." And at that time, that was kind of all that he could say, although now, we live in a legal state, and it's legal in like maybe 30 states right now. So, fortunately, almost 11 years later, we're in a different position than we were at that point, where doctors really weren't doing too much recommending. So he made the high level recommendation and told me to do my research. And, I took that as an opportunity to get off of all of the prescription medication that I had been on, and to do something that was alternative, something that was healthy, and something that I had heard a lot about. So that was where I was at that point. And I then went on this, I always use the word journey, but I went on this journey to really learn about nerve damage and THC. I learned about dosing. I learned about different forms of being able to take it. And I started to make my own cocktail, basically. And within about 2 months of doing this, I went off of every prescription that I was on, and I did not have any problems. My body didn't have any problems going off of it. So now it's been just about 11 years, and I have not put one prescription pill in my body other than an ibuprofen from time to time and an antibiotic if necessary. But other than that, there's nothing for the pain, there's nothing for the nerves. Now it's interesting because I do know that that nerve pain is still there. So every once in a while, I'll find myself in a position, if I'm on the road traveling, or I don't know, for whatever reason, where I don't have my medicine, and I feel the nerve kind of poking out at me saying like, "Hello, I'm still here." And so I know that the nerve is there. For me, what I did was I played around with a combination of flour and edibles, ingestibles, and I found my balance. So I very, very rarely feel high, unless I take a couple of extra gummies on purpose. But for this conversation, on a day-to-day basis, I very rarely feel high. I feel very calm and relaxed. I feel creative, but I don't feel high. And I can say that when I was taking a lot of prescription pills, I felt high all the time, and not in a good way. I always felt tired. I always felt nauseous. My mouth was always dry. I was losing weight. I was gaining weight. And none of that was happening with weed. So once I found this out for myself, I was able to influence several people in my life who had some sort of chronic pain. And it was amazing for me to help guide them through this process to find what was right for them and what dosage was right for them. And I just wanted to give you a few examples of situations where someone was taking a lot of medication and was able to go to no medication just from medical marijuana. I do want to say that I do not work for a cannabis company. This is 100% my experiences personally and my experiences being able to help friends and family. A very good friend of mine was diagnosed with breast cancer a couple of years ago, and she was having some serious issues, side effects from the treatment. So she was very nauseous all the time. She had zero appetite and she wasn't sleeping at all. And I was speaking with her on the phone one day, and she was telling me what was going on. And she also lives in a legal state. And I told her, I want you to go talk to your doctor, and this is what I want to make sure that you get from the dispensary. And she did. And it took us about 2 weeks to find the exact dosage for her, because I always say that there is a perfect dose and a perfect combination for everyone. You just have to get there. And you're much better off starting slow and working your way up than starting high and working your way down, because starting high can give you some side effects that you don't want. You know, it can get you too high, and then you lose the desire to start this process over again. So I always say, let it take a little bit longer for you to figure out what your dosage is, and start low and work your way up. So it took us about 2 weeks to find the proper dose for her. And when we did, she put on about 5 pounds. She was actually hungry again. She lost all of the nausea, and she was sleeping a full night. And so I consider that a success. Another experience helping someone with medical marijuana. My mother-in-law was in home hospice, and she was dying. And she was in a tremendous amount of pain. And I was at home taking care of her. And I was the one who was sitting and holding her hand while she was dying. And as she was telling me the kind of pain she was in, squeezing my hand, telling me how much pain she was in, could I help her? A very close friend of mine said to me, get her some weed. And we got some edibles, and she was able to suck on them, and her pain went away. And not only did her pain go away, she was relaxed and calm, and her anxiety disappeared for the very first time since the whole active dying process had started. And for me, who really loved her, to be a part of that experience with her at the end was something that I'll never forget. But also being able to help alleviate that pain in a way that the doctors couldn't is also something that I always hold pretty near to my heart. One of my favorite stories about getting someone to give up traditional opioids, pain pills, etc. for medical marijuana is a story about my brother. And my brother is an athlete, and from the time we were kids, he is always getting hurt. And several years ago, he had surgery on the back of his neck, and I don't know what kind of surgery, but I believe it was a fusion, some type of fusion. And when he got home from the surgery, he was in excruciating pain, and he was all hopped up on pain pills, and he couldn't think. Like, he just couldn't think. And he was also in pain still. And I said to him, you have to try some marijuana. And I wouldn't say that my brother was completely against it his entire life, but he wasn't, a pothead. Like, he didn't smoke much or at all, really. And he said to me, because he was an athlete and he got tested, that he couldn't do it. And I said to him, you stupid, stupid brother, right now, you are not riding on a bicycle. Right now, you are not getting tested. Right now, you are taking all of this over-the-counter medication. You can't think, you're still in pain. Please listen to your big sister. Please listen to your big sister. And he did. And it's been a while, and I really don't remember the time frame on how long it took, but it was quick. Like, it was maybe 5 to 7 days where he was completely off of the medication that he had from this massive surgery that was going to take a long time to recover from. And he was completely off of the pills, and he was on medical marijuana. And to me, that was a great story, because it was someone who was like, you know, I'm doing this because the doctor said, and you know, it's supposed to help me, and I'm not really interested in marijuana, to literally changing the healing process for himself from that point forward. This channel is all about healing and helping. And like I said, in the past, we've talked about spiritual healing and emotional healing, but this was a real life, physical healing journey for me that I truly believe is worth sharing. And if you are thinking about it but hesitant, then learn about it. That's what I say. Immerse yourself in it. Try it. Don't get discouraged in the very beginning, because medical marijuana literally saved my entire life. And because it saved my life, I have been able to help friends and family make adjustments to their lifestyle and to try medical marijuana, and it has saved their lives. So by just me taking that chance, I've changed many lives. And if you are in pain, if you have anxiety, if you have Crohn's disease, if you are nauseous, if you can't eat, if you have cancer, if you have MS, if you have Parkinson's, if you have nystagmus, I can keep going on and on. There are so many wonderful side benefits of medical marijuana, and I just urge you to give up the pills and the stuff that the pharmaceutical companies are pushing, and literally just try nature. Just try nature and see if it helps. On a side note, I received my very first email yesterday, and in this email, someone asked me, how many tattoos do you have and what do they mean? And that is one of my favorite things to talk about. So if you didn't know, I am pretty fully tatted. And every single one of the tattoos that I have means something special to me. And I am thinking that now what I'm going to do is make a video, and I'll show you all of my tattoos. I'll explain to you where they're from, the meaning behind them, and I think that'll be a really fun video. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I hope to connect with you soon. Go enjoy it outside. It's beautiful. Goodbye.